Adam Small here again from MyMusicMasterclass, and today we have another sound test review. This time it's a short scale acoustic electric bass guitar from Glarry Music, and the model number is GMB101. So like I said, this is a short scale bass, 30-inch scale. The color that they sent me was the burley wood color. I believe there's a black too, so it's black and burley wood. I believe those are the two color options. The body of this bass is basswood, the fingerboard and bridge are rosewood, and the neck is maple, and the nut is just plastic. It has 21 frets, and lastly, it's really light. It's 4.8 pounds, which is super light for a bass. Like most acoustic electric bass guitars, this one can be plugged into an amplifier, a soundboard, a sound card, whatever. So it has a preamp that works with a 9-volt battery, and it has a 4-band EQ. And like most instruments that are sold these days, this bass comes with some accessories. It comes with this gig bag, which is very thin, no padding at all. A 1/4-inch cable to plug into an amp or whatever you want. But you know, I have better cables than this, so I wouldn't really bother. It comes with 2 picks. These are really light. They feel like pretty much like ultralight picks. And it came with an Allen wrench too if you need to adjust the truss rod on your neck. But to be honest, I didn't really expect any high quality accessories with this bass because it's $129.99 as of the filming of this video. That's what it costs new. And you know, I'm really more concerned with how the instrument plays than if the gig bag is thin and if I get a good 1/4-inch cable, and I'm not even gonna use a pick in this video. So there's that. Now, just like in our other videos, Glarry Music sent us this bass. They sent us this bass for free in order for us to make a review video. But they didn't pressure us or tell us to say anything specific. And because of that, we are always very unbiased. Matter of fact, we wouldn't do a review video if someone tried to coach us and tell us what to say, because what's the point? So let's see how this goes. All right, so I unboxed this thing and tuned it up, and I have to admit that just my initial impression is that this thing is pretty fun to play. Let me see, I gotta get this stuff off. I hate this stuff. All right, cool. So I did notice one thing that I'm gonna show you here. I haven't mic'd this up, and I'm gonna put this through my amp and into the sound card in my studio so that you can really hear how this EQ works and how the preamp sounds and everything. But right now I just have my stereo mic set up here. So this is a stereo mic. It's set up, you can't see it, but it's like right where my hand is. It's right under here. So I don't know, 2 feet in front of me. And it's an ORTF configuration. It's gonna gather the sound of the room. All right, so this is just completely acoustic in this room, like I said. One thing I did notice that I wanna show you, and I don't know if you're gonna be able to hear, so I'm gonna get close to this mic, is that there's a rattle, and I'm looking for it. It was driving me nuts. So check this out. You can't hear it here. If I played the G string, D, no. Not really on the A string, check this out. Hear that? Something's rattling. So I looked and I found it. There's a washer right here on the tuning peg that's rattling and it's bugging me. So what I'm gonna do is tighten this nut right here and try to fix that, because otherwise it's bothering me. Now this noise wouldn't come through the amp probably, because it's just something, but I would hear it and it would bother me. The E string is a little buzzy sometimes, and sometimes it has to do with short scale versus long scale basses. Sometimes the E string's a little bit floppier, just because this is a shorter scale and because of the tension. Now, since there's no bridge adjustment, because this is an acoustic and it doesn't have an adjustable bridge, and because this neck, if you look at it, it's pretty straight. There's not any visible bow I can see in it. I could add a little relief to this neck, which would mean that I'm gonna take the Allen wrench and just give it like a 1/4 turn looser, quarter turn left. And just to see if that gives it a little bit of a relief, therefore tightening up the E string maybe a little bit so that it doesn't bottom out on these frets. And I'll show you what I mean. So the A string, for instance, if I play C here, sounds totally solid, right? Now here, hear that? Hear that buzz, right? So that's pretty much G, F sharp, and F. If you hit the E string, it's not gonna happen because it's not close enough to the frets. Now I just hear that washer thing that I was talking about. Now, if I get to A flat, it's pretty much corrected. No problems. So I'm gonna see if this truss rod adjustment does anything. And if it doesn't, it's still not the end of the world because I wanna see how this thing reacts with an amplifier and if this is even picked up. All right, I'm back. I made a few little adjustments here. I tightened this one nut here on the tuner, and as you can hear, I'm gonna put it right up to the mic. No more rattle, so yeah, that's good. I also loosened the truss rod about a quarter turn. You know, you do that right here, and make sure if you're not used to setting up your own instruments, that you're not tightening it. Don't go right, because if you go right and you over tighten a truss rod, you could snap it and that'll screw you up royally. Well, that's the G, F sharp, F, and E, and I'm hearing no buzz on the fretboard. So this is one way to remedy something like that when you're having a little issue with just a few notes. I mean, it could be sometimes there's like one high fret on a fretboard or something like that. I don't see many problems with this. This thing looks pretty clean. I mean, it might not be exactly perfect. You know, it is a $130 instrument, but it's actually pretty solid. The other thing you can always try to do is get a different set of strings. Different set of strings have different tensions. So I might try that too. This is what it came with. This is a short scale bass. I might try to get a set of short scale strings that have a higher tension, and therefore I could keep my action lower than this, meaning that I have a straighter neck. I don't have to loosen my truss rod, and I would get the same results. All right, now that we've gotten the preliminary stuff out of the way, I want to move to phase 2 of this review / sound test. We're going to plug this thing into my amp, and also we're going to plug it into my sound card so we can hear how it sounds in an amp. You know, I've got a good rig here, and also how it sounds completely direct into a sound card. And yeah, let's do that. All right, so we're on to the next phase. I just plugged this thing into my amplifier. I mic'd the amp up with a Sennheiser 421, and I also have a direct box going right into my sound card, so you'll hear how it sounds just in case the amp is coloring it in any way. I left the EQ on my amp completely flat, and as of this second, I have the volume on half on this bass, right? Because it's an active preamp, it has a 9-volt battery. And I have all the EQ exactly at 0, right? So completely flat. So this is what it sounds like completely flat. Okay, cool. So that was completely flat. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna mess with the EQ a little bit. So we have 4 bands here: bass, mid, treble, and presence. Presence being the highest, and then down from there. Presence on this EQ is boosting 8K, 8 kilohertz. And treble is boosting 2.2 kilohertz. So I wanna try to take down the presence because this is a personal style for me, or a personal taste, but I'm not a super big fan of presence on acoustic sounding instruments like this, or acoustic sounding basses like this, because I want it to be a little duller and more acoustic and less like, I don't know what the word is, active-y? It's not really a word. So this is what present sounds like on, and this is it off. I just kind of prefer that sound. I don't think this bass needs that super high frequency. Now let's take the next step here. I want to add some bass to the sound because I feel like it's not bassy enough, and it's a bass, right? So I'm going to boost the bass on this instrument, not on my amplifier. I'm going to crank it all the way up. And now let's see what that is. So right now I have the bass all the way up, the presence all the way down. The mid and the treble are just halfway, so they're not cut or boosted, they're at 0. We can mess with other parameters. Maybe I'll take some of the treble and mid. I'll take the treble and mid all the way down so you can just hear how this sounds just as a completely bass instrument. Now this is experimental, right? This is probably something I would only do if I really wanted to achieve a very specific sound, but hey, you know, we're making a video, so let's try it. Now when you do truss rod adjustments, if it's something that it wasn't set up for in the factory and you don't have the adjustable bridge to compensate, it could be slightly off here, right? So if I play G, a G octave, which is pretty in tune, and then play that same G octave up here, you can hear it. But this might be remedied if I were to get a new set of strings and just try to set it up a little bit. Who knows? Regardless, it's not that big of a deal. I'm not going to be playing that high that much on a gig, because if I were playing this bass, I typically would be playing an unplugged type of situation and probably not doing anything that soloistic. But I guess who knows? Regardless, this bass cost $129.99, and I guess that's what I have to remind myself, because I really didn't expect it to play as well as it does, feel as good, and sound as good. And if it has a couple quirks or a couple problems, it's kind of expected. And I'd have to say that it does provide a really, really good value for your money. So I hope this video was helpful, and I'll see you next time.